Okay, this is a little tutorial video for the spike stitch pattern in my Rue Hartan blanket because some of the testers struggled a little bit to get their heads around this one, especially with the yarn under, and it can be a little bit tricky because it can be a bit harder to see where you're putting your stitches into. So I've worked a few rows already just to give me something to hang on to. So we're going to start with a spike stitch row. So the first on my blocks, the first stitch is always just a simple stitch to maintain a nice border. And then we're going to go straight in with a simple stitch 2 together. And then here comes the yarn under. So you basically put the yarn to the front of the hook. But then in order to stop your next stitch, which in our case is going to be another TSS 2 together from becoming a purl, you kind of have to make sure that that yarn doesn't slip all the way around the front. So I've put the hook in to where we're going to TSS 2 together again. And I'm keeping the yarn over the top of the hook. Basically, I'm tensioning it, but you can also hold it with your finger if that's a bit easier. And then depending on how you hold your yarn on your hook, you may need to kind of adapt this to suit how you hold everything. But with the way that I hold the yarn, what I then do is I basically just rotate the hook around the yarn and pull it through that, pull it through those TSS2 together. And so now you can see we've got one TSS2 together here, which is that little upside down V. We've got our yarn under, and we've got our next TSS2 together. So at this point, the yarn under really looks exactly like a yarn over would do, but the difference is by coming under the hook, when we complete the pattern, we won't have holes in it to the extent that we would have with a yarn over. So that's really the purpose for it. So this whole row is TSS2 together, yarn under. And you can see sometimes if I don't tension the yarn properly, when I go to move the hook, the yarn sort of flips to the front, but you can just adjust that and make sure that you've got the yarn going to the back. So bring the yarn in front of the hook, insert the hook into those next 2 stitches for your TSS2 together, and then sort of rotate it around, catch it, and pull it through the 2 stitches. Bring it forwards, insert it into those next 2, hook round, like that. And we keep doing that all the way to the end of the row. I do find also that the stitches, you'll probably find the stitches don't slide quite so easily on your hook because the yarn unders don't have the same kind of nice even, see, there we go, I struggled a bit with that one. Don't have the nice even tension that your normal stitches would have, your normal loops would have. So you might find you need to just fiddle about a bit with adjusting the stitches so that you've got enough flexibility to move the hook. Oops, I lost my end. So this is the last one of the row, I think. So we do yarn under, TSS2 together, and don't forget your last yarn under because the pair actually goes TSS2 together, yarn under. So you need to remember your last yarn under, and then the last one, similarly, we've got just one TSS for the border. So same principle, but that time we're just going through one. And then we have our end stitch. And now we're going to do our return pass. And again, on the return pass, you will probably notice that things don't run quite as smoothly as a normal return pass because those yarn unders are just not sliding as nicely as your normal loops would be. Oops. I did a few rows to give me something to hang on to, but it still wants to curl. Nearly there. with the return pass. There we go, got to the end. And then the second row of the 2-row repeat for spike stitch is just a simple stitch all the way across, but it can be a bit tricky. So we've just done that first border stitch. That's going into the top of where the TSS2 together was. And look, where's the yarn under gone, right? It just looks like it's completely disappeared. But if you pull the fabric apart a little bit, you can see there's this diagonal bar running here. So that's what we're going to dig in and pick up. And we're going to pick up here because we maintain the same stitch count across the row at all times. So for each decrease 1 stitch with the TSS2 together, we replace that stitch with the yarn under on that row. So that means on this row, we need to make sure we are picking up all of our yarn unders as well, so that we still maintain the same stitch count. So you'll find it, once you know where to look for it, it's not too difficult, but that yarn under can tend to disappear a little bit behind the TSS2 together to its right. But if you pull the fabric apart, you should see the diagonal. You should see the diagonal stitch, diagonal bar of the yarn under fairly easily. This is quite tricky, trying to watch what I'm doing, not move the camera too much, and watch out for the bottom of the swatch flipping up so that you can't actually see what I'm doing. Filming tutorials is tricky. Who knew? Nearly there. Oops. And it's the same with your TSS2 togethers. If the vertical bar is, not super obvious, you can just pull your fabric slightly and everything should fall into place. And again, don't forget to pick up that last yarn under. And then the one I find that especially wants to disappear is this last border stitch. It's something to do with having worked the yarn under before that stitch. It really wants to disappear. But again, you can see if I just tug this gently, it becomes more obvious, and it's that bar there that we want to pick up. So don't miss that one either. TSS2 together, and then my end stitch is very unobvious here, but again, if I just twist that out slightly, I can see that I should be going into here. And there's my back bump. There we go. There. So obviously now you do your return pass and you'd carry on with your 2-row repeat of TSS2 together yarn under and then a row of simple stitch. Hope that helps.